Tom Waits, Tony Allen, Frankie Stubbs, Shane McGowan, Nick Cave, Marvin Gaye, Leonard Cohen, Leonard Nimoy, Colin Hay, Joe Strummer, Donna Summer, Henry Miller, Norman Mailer, PJ Harvey, Harvey Milk, Harvey Korman, Cyndi Lauper, Wanda Jackson, Action Jackson, Peter Jackson, Ian Curtis, Curtis Mayfield, Billie Holiday, Otis Redding, Eric Andre, Andre 3000, Andre the Giant, Chuck Dukowski, Charles Bukowski, Mike Watt, David Lynch, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Carol Burnett, T-Bone Burnett, Charlie Parker Can't Lose, Charlie Chaplin, Tracy Chapman, Tracy Ullman, Tracy Chapstick, Susie Chapstick, Evel Knievel, Rock and Roll, Science, Joey Ramone, Nina Simone, Mommy, and Daddy. Those are my heroes. And that was part of my opening monologue for the very first Burn It Down show. Look how far we've come, and people said we wouldn't last. Good evening. Welcome to TCB Studios. Welcome to Burn It Down. I'd like to give a very special thank you to our guest last week, Henry Owings. We got some new viewers, and we had some wonderful comments, and it was just a great episode. And I'm super excited about tonight's episode because we will be going behind the scenes, BTS at BID. These people believed in me, and we're doing something very special together, and we're making magic. Please let me bring to the stage John Phipps and Renée Yaworsky.
Why, thank you. We're here to burn it down.
That is a very difficult intro because it's a play on words. It's almost like a jazz piece. And I had so much fun when I wrote it. And we've come so far. That episode with Darren Sanders, which was lovely and wonderful. And today I was thinking, how do I want to open this up? Because we want to basically talk about our ideas, where they came from, where they're at now, and where they are going. And then I just said, man, I'm going to try to wrap those influences again.
There you go.
It's beautiful. That was so great. I love it.
Tom, you mentioned, influences and how everything started in a reverse sort of way. You are the reason that we've got to this point because it was you and Renée can tell her part of this as well. It was basically in February of 2021. We were doing Turn On Tonight, Not Quite. I finally got that right after 1,000 times. So we were doing Turn On Tonight, Not Quite, and
Tom you were the guest.
Tom was slated to be the guest, and that was when we first met the Tech Gremlins, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my goodness, yes, so, I remember that.
And that, I won't tell the whole story because of time limits, but I reached out to Renée afterward and said, look, if you need help with any of this, if you need another hand to help with everything, please do not hesitate. She brought me aboard, and we've been, as Dennis says, we've built the ship as we've been sailing, and here we are tonight with us three on
It's so true. And I'm a big fan of making things happen, manifesting things, and also certainly doing things trial and error. The first few records that I put out, I was clueless, but I learned as I went along. And the same with this show. You guys believed in me, having the time of my life doing it. And we really are, we're working together. They say it takes a village. Well, it does as well. Everyone putting their hands and their feet and their arms and their thoughts and their connections into it. Wonderful and beautiful things are happening.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like when Tom Cheshire, Tom does everything, right? He's a poet, and he's building TV stations, but he's also, really known as being a musician, a songwriter,
Thank you.
a performer, I would say, more than anything, because everything you do, you're always performing, and you're always coordinating, and you're always loving. You have this huge heart. I mean, everybody. How many people do I meet that they'll say, like, I would do anything for Tom Cheshire, and
Oh
I
my
always
goodness.
and I always say back to them, yeah, I'm one of those people too, right? Like, just raise your hand, because you're loyal,
Oh
you're
my goodness.
fair, you're passionate. But the thing is like, when somebody who's that multifaceted says, I can do a TV show too. I think I can do that. A
Mhm.
live television show. I think I can do, because going live on TV is, come on. That's there are a lot of people who can't do it just because even nerves. It's very
Sure.
stressful environment. And when you said that, I was like, wow, this is going to be like Anthony Bourdain,
Oh my
but
goodness.
live. But like,
Certainly a hero
imagine.
as well. Yes. Yeah.
Right. And it's like so cool. And of course you're so unique. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I love Anthony, but I would prefer to watch you if I had to choose, just because you're so multifaceted and you're so engaging. But then you did it. You really
Oh
did
my
it.
goodness. Yeah.
And I
You're too
want to know
kind.
where
And I
that
could
came from, where you're
I
like, yeah, I
couldn't
can
do
do a
that
TV
without you
show.
guys. I couldn't do that with you
Thank you.
guys.
Oh,
So it really does take a team in the
Teamwork.
village, and your belief in me. And the thing is for years, friends have said these things. Like, I've had friends say to me, "You're funny. You should be a comedian." And I'm like, "No, it's one thing to be funny at a Sunday dinner when you're making fun of your aunt and your uncle. That's completely different. Getting on stage and telling jokes and commanding that stage, I think that might be the most difficult job in the world. I think as a songwriter and a storyteller, yes, you could say something funny in between songs, but commanding a stage, telling a story with jokes, and I just think that's a completely different beast. So I automatically knocked that down from people saying you should do comedy. Plus, I take what I do as a songwriter so seriously, even though some songs I will make fun of myself, but then the next song I'm pouring my heart out to somebody and crying, and that
yeah.
is the main thing to me. But
And
when people
Renee,
talked about doing a TV show, or like, your own Tonight Show, then I said, wait a minute, I do love engaging with people. I love doing this. I love being hyperactive, and then the voice going lower saying, tell me more, I'm interested.
yeah.
And my goal is to every Monday night get better at that, and then hopefully do it Monday night, Tuesday night, and then Wednesday night, and do it more.
Yes. And let me say it's something else about Tom, and everybody that's watching now can attest to this. The man, he doesn't miss. It doesn't matter what the
Never.
fuck he's doing.
He bats
never
1,000.
misses.
He bats 1,000.
At
Listen,
poetry,
is this show supposed
songwriting,
to make me blush? Because you're making me blush.
it's
How do
true,
you
man.
how do you get that good though? This is my question. Thank you, John, because I was trying to lead
Mhm.
into that. When you're that known and that consummate as a musician and a poet and a performer and all these, right, go down the list. How do you then get to a point where you're like, I can host a show? What was that like for you? Was it something that you just sort of just came to
Um,
you, or your whole life you were thinking about it?
no, so well, I had a strange upbringing that would require several other shows that I have no problem getting into. But let's just say I was performing at a young age, getting all
Yeah.
kinds of dance lessons, and performing at recitals, and then I was giving talks, and having to write, like, basically book reports, but on like biblical figures and stuff as a young
Oh,
person, and having to go into a room to talk in front of a bunch of people, that can scare the hell out of you. But eventually, you just get
Yeah.
over it. And you get over it. And then when I said, "Well, I want nothing to do with the Bible. I just want to tell stories,"
there
and
you go.
then I just transferred that energy to getting on stage and singing or telling stories. Now, that being said, I still, to this day, being on stage 30 years, the first two or three songs, my eyes are closed and I'm a nervous wreck. But by the fourth
Oh,
song, I know I got it, and then I open my eyes and I'm excited, and I'm like, I got this. You know.
Tom, let me
Well,
ask you, Renee, you had something to say?
yeah, I just wanted to know, Tom, if you could take a little bit, take us down the lane here of some of the learnings you've had in season one of Burn It Down, never having really done live talk shows
Hmm.
before.
Yeah, very, very good question, and thank you. And again, I'd be nothing without you guys. You know, I well, the first episode we hit it out of the park. Darren Sanders, he's wonderful.
That was awesome.
And
So
Darren,
good.
we share the same beliefs, and it's just positive mental energy and positive mental attitude and choosing awesome. Um, but then I had my brother Scott, who I'm his biggest fan, and he's such a
Love that
talented and
one.
amazing writer. But there were times, as much as I know him so well, that I had a hard time. Like I wasn't, in a room after work or at the bookstore, or us getting a cup of coffee or a drink, I could gauge him. But I learned after that episode, I was like, wait a minute, here's a guy that I think I know better than anybody in the world, and I wasn't happy with that. Then I was talking to John backstage. We had some tech problems with Casey Yarborough, so I'd love to have him on again.
Yeah.
And I believe that might have been the end of season one, which stinks because you want it to be this grand slam.
Yeah.
There's been so many things that I've learned, and also what I've tried to gauge is I have these notes written behind the camera with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're like, well, I got to hit 1, 2, 3, and within 25 or 30 minutes or 33 minutes, maybe you're not going to hit every note. And when you look at the clock and you see there's 3 or 4 minutes left, I need to start saying, wait a minute, I need to start working on my outro for this to feel like a body. So when someone gives a talk, let's say someone gets paid a lot of money to go speak at, let's say, IBM or something, and they probably have an introduction, and then they have what's called a body, and then they have an outro, like they're closing. And if they only have 45 minutes to speak and they got stuck, or people raised their hands and they spent 40 minutes on the body, that outro is not going to have the hit and the kick that they need. And I'm trying to get better at that. I'm realizing that every aspect of this is a piece of art, including me being a host. And I just want to become really, really good at it. And that being said, while I'm working, I'll put in earplugs and I'll listen to old interviews that Johnny Carson did, that David Letterman has done, and you try to just just say, wait a minute, these are the pros. Look how far they went. I'm excited. I'm excited that I could tell someone I do the same thing. It doesn't matter if I'm as big as them. I do the same thing as them.
You do exactly the same thing. It's just as valid. It's identical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like I could tell someone, me, you, and John Phipps do the same exact thing Bob Dylan does. And I tell people that. They're like, what? And I don't have the same amount of fans as him, but I do what he does. I write songs, and sometimes I let my dreams become stories.
Exactly.
And it's wonderful.
Yes.
Tom, let me ask you a question here. You mentioned you mentioned interviews and all. Who were your contemporaries growing up? Who did you listen, like, in terms of interviews?
Very good.
Like, you mentioned Carson.
Yes.
Did you listen to anyone like maybe Larry King or something like that on the radio growing up?
Well, unfortunately, on my list of heroes, there were several people that, because of today's day and age, like, let's say I mentioned Wanda Jackson, who was a wonderful country singer who dated Elvis Presley. I say Action Jackson, who's just a joke of a character in a movie in the 80s. Well, at one point, Michael Jackson was on that list, but because of negativity and basically documentaries put out on him that, I don't even want to, whether some people believe it or not, I don't want that name associated with who I'm saying are my heroes.
Yeah.
So for sure, for a long time, Charlie Rose was on there. I loved watching Charlie Rose interviews. But then, some negative things came out about him that I think were proven true. Line goes through it. Charlie Rose is off there. But I'd say Larry King for sure. I'd say David Letterman. Even now in his old age, he is just
on Netflix. Yeah, he has a Netflix. It's so good.
That is the bar, And then but also, I'm a bit older than you guys, and growing up in New York City, for free on the regular radio was Howard Stern interviews. And the funny thing is he was known as a shock jock. I think the term shock jock came out because of him, and he was known for just some crass things. But at the end of the day, he was a brilliant, wonderful interviewer. And people would even say, I've been on this show, I've been on that show, I've been on Letterman, I've been on Carson, I've been on, Charlie Rose and Larry King. And Howard's the only one who got me to admit that this happened to me when I was a kid. And there
Oh,
really is this. He's an artisan, and there really is an art to that. And
Yeah,
so I
I
studied.
have him. I listen to him right now on Sirius, and I'm telling you, I listen to him right now. I mean, the last 7 he did, I listened to, and I'm like, nobody can do exactly what he does. I mean, again, it's different animals, so it's not like he's better,
It's
but there's just a
completely
certain thing where people feel like they can open up to him, and he's also not afraid to ask what he wants to know,
right.
but they
Yeah,
feel safe to
yeah,
tell him that stuff. Yeah.
and it's something like maybe because of the long hair or because of his past or because he
Yeah.
has had, porn stars on or whatever.
Yeah.
People think he's not going to go there, and he goes there. The
Mhm.
two-part interview he did with Hillary Clinton, I think they should show
Yes.
in classes.
Yeah, I mean,
And
absolute
he's like,
brilliance.
he goes, I wanted to have you on. And she's like, well, I didn't hear about it until the end, but in all reality, I probably wouldn't have come on. But now I realize I should have come on. Like he would have
Yeah.
had so much influence on having people vote for her.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, definitely, and he's also changed too, like, a lot of the crass stuff, like, he came out, like, several years ago, and he was like, "You know what? There's a lot of that, like, I would never do again, and I don't think was awesome," and
Right,
he really doubled down more on the
right,
one-to-one and the fleshing out of the heart, and he
right.
really got it. I mean, he did a thing with Jane Fonda last year that just blew
Wonderful.
my mind. I mean, just like, she was talking about all this stuff, I had no idea. But, I could see that, and of course, New York is is a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it's
I
so
could see it.
good. Yeah, I'm having the time of my life doing this, and again, thank you guys. When you came to me and we started talking about it, I did have a little bit of a vision of it, but a lot of it is trial and error, and we're learning as we're going, and
Yeah.
but the good thing is we're making really good decisions. We've had nothing but great guests. And in each show, I think I mean, I booked some future guests that I'm excited about that normally I wouldn't have. And some of them are musicians, and I'm looking forward to it going past the arts. But there's art in everything, and I told Renee
mhm.
this. It's like I want to get some chefs on, and some people who just are doing
Yeah.
philanthropic stuff,
Of
like
course.
it's helping kids. Futures, and basically a little by little, leave our mark on the world.
Well, you have a now, but here's the thing I wanna talk about. Tell people who know you through your other talk, because you have another talk show, but it's just
Yeah,
not a live talk show and you're not
right,
solo with
Oh
it.
yeah.
Talk about the
right.
differences
Hmm.
between
Yeah, well, shout out to Cassie. She goes by one name on stage, just Cassie,
Cassie,
and
love
James
her.
Joyce.
James.
Yeah.
And three on the ones and twos. We are having a blast with it, and we are growing with that as well. I think we're about to shoot our 37th and 38th episodes this
Wow.
week, and that's a year and a half because we go on. Let's say like one every other
Congratulations.
week. And the whole idea is for someone to be a fly on the wall, listening to three people discuss one record, and that's easy and not easy because everyone has the big personality talking over each other. Plus, there's a guest who we should be letting them speak the most. So that again, trial and error. We are learning and we are getting better with it, and I'm super proud of it. And
Yes.
that's on YouTube and Spotify. And the goal for that is for that to grow as well. I do believe it's moving in some great directions, and I'm super proud of everything we've done up until now. But you want these things to grow. You want the audience to grow. You want your readership and your listeners to grow, and like the same with here, which you guys have done. Congratulations on
Thank
2,000
you.
members.
Thank you.
Saturday was the slice of heaven. I got a chance to
That
watch
was so
everyone
great.
throughout the day. I had a wonderful time reading poetry and singing a few
That
songs. It was
was
Oh,
so
fun.
good. Oh my
powerful.
gosh, the poetry read that you did. Everyone go back, Cosmos
Amen.
Creative TV on Facebook, and check out I mean,
Oh, it
all
was
of them.
wonderful.
I mean, it was
Everyone
14
was wonderful.
hours. It was
It
14
was
hours.
wonderful.
But the poetry read that you did, and then John Phipps did one. But like,
Yeah.
you guys are both these incredible, brilliant, poetic
Mm,
minds. And then Tom does this, like, he turns it into a full body
Oh,
experience, right? Jonathan stays more in the cerebral, more calm. So it's like two different
Yeah.
experiences of poetry reading.
mhm.
I love the difference,
It
Though
but
really is, and
I
it's
s-
magic, and all of it's magic.
total magic. Yeah.
And I want to give credit to John. He is, whether he wants to
oh,
admit it or acknowledge it or know it or not. I know Renee has my back. You, my man, you, my friend, are what we call a producer because you produce. You are
Yes.
making sure things
He gets it
happen.
done.
thank
And
you.
right before the show, a couple of people canceled. You went into producer mode, and it was wonderful, and everyone was wonderful. Julie, Rock and
Yes.
Roll, everyone, and
So good.
everyone's worked
Cheers.
so hard. Again, cheers. It takes a village, you know,
Village.
and I'm
Tom,
Yes.
proud,
Tom, let me ask.
and I'm
You
so proud to
mentioned
be part of that village.
I am so
yes.
proud too, Tom. You're our hero. Everybody watching
Um,
now is like, you're the pinnacle of everything for us.
Tom, let me ask. You mentioned your poetry, and you
mhm.
mentioned mine, and the fact that I'm more cerebral and place oriented, whereas what you write cuts to the heart of the soul.
Oh my goodness.
And how did you how did you craft
Mm.
your writings like that, and who were your
Oh wow.
influences there?
Well, that's such a good question. I will say this. It's funny enough that who you would think turned me on, or how would I say, who you would think I was inspired by as poets somehow inspired me as storytellers, and then who you would think um, inspired me as storytellers somehow inspired me as a poet. So I'll say, I heard so some people going, oh, some of his stuff, he can remind me of Chinaski, Charles Bukowski, and that's a wonderful compliment, But more than anything, I loved his stories, like Post Office and Women, in Factotum, and they somehow inspired me. And I said, wait, these things don't have to rhyme. You just need to cut to the guts, the
Yes.
crotch, the heart, and just tell this story. And then, shockingly, it's these songwriters and storytellers like Nick Cave and Tom Waits and Leonard Cohen for sure, and even Bob Dylan. That somehow I'm like, wait a minute, take the music away. I'm reading in this, and that they're the ones who inspired me as a poet. And they just went back and forth, which is all beautiful because no one said there's any rules, so you can
Mhm.
pick and choose whatever you like. And I'm constantly getting new um, influences, storytellers, like I mentioned, Henry Miller, Norman Mailer. Oh my goodness. So many women have become incredulously important to me as storytellers. PJ Harvey, Cindy Lauper,
Mm.
and then for the work that they do for the underdog and for people out there with no voice. I think and that's the other thing. Whatever power we have or influence we have with what we do as artisans, if I can, speak, and if we can act a little bit and try to be freedom fighters and talk for the people who don't have a
Yes.
voice, I'm down to do it every day.
Oh yeah, heck yeah. That's one of the things like Cosmos kind of is it's a network, it's not a production company, it's a
Right.
network. Like we did the telethon for Mercy for Life and they got
Yes.
all new, in Uganda, the kids, the orphanage in
I
Uganda, they
love it.
got all new equipment for their school that was
Mhm.
brand new just because of the people coming out for that
Right.
telethon.
Right.
So you can do a lot of good in the arts. I mean, that's one of the reasons I feel like when you're talking with that passion, it's like there's an
Oh
activism
wow.
wing of arts, which is why I also got into the arts. I loved like Phil Oakes and Billy Bragg and all that kind of
Me
stuff.
too. Oh
Steve
my goodness.
Earle,
Billy Bragg,
come on,
Billy.
like
Yeah.
such cool like people. Pete Seeger,
Oh
and
my
it's like
goodness.
I love these people. Peter, Paul, and Mary, even the way that they sort of.
I'm proud and embarrassed to say that about 10 or 12, 11 years ago, I've had maybe 4 or 5 therapists in my life, and nothing at all
Oh.
to be embarrassed about that. It's very healthy to have a therapist. But
Mhm.
this therapist that I had a few sessions in, I see a picture of him and Pete Seeger. And
Oh
I started
man.
Oh.
talking to my therapist about it. He goes, yeah, we were college roommates. And basically, the therapist wound up firing me because all my sessions, all I did was ask him questions about Pete Seeger.
That's what I would do. That's what I would.
He goes, Tom, you don't seem to get it, so I think we should find you another person to
Oh
talk.
my
He's
god.
like, he shows
That-
you the door because I wouldn't be able to, I would be obsessed. I mean, how can you focus on
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
else
like,
after the person
yeah,
tells
you
you
know,
that?
yeah, Elvis Costello is another person that,
Yes.
yeah, I could listen to him just read out of the Yellow Pages, but
Yeah.
I loved that he looked like this nerd, but he was just this rock and roll nerd, punk rocker,
Oh, so
and
punk.
certainly has talked and screened and done benefits. Which reminds me, what I love about this show and us doing these interviews is, let's have a goal to do a Cosmos joint venture with an I Choose Awesome Festival to give money to anyone that you guys choose.
Yes,
Yes.
you
Because
got it.
Green light.
what we do with I Choose Awesome is we try to, whatever we
Hashtag.
can, we've
Yeah.
done, and the goal is to make it really big, but it's just to, buy these kids, who have a broken violin or need guitar strings, or
That's right.
even if it's paintbrushes, I always love telling the story that I went to see, Michelle Obama speak at the New Whitney a few years ago, and a friend of mine got me tickets, and
Wow.
I was sitting right behind Frances McDormand, and I never get starstruck, and I was like nervous, like being behind her. She's such a wonderful actress, but she said, Barack and I come from these humble beginnings, and all I got to say is buy your kids markers, buy your kids crayons, buy your kids colored pencils, give them cardboard, give them paper, and let them dream. And my arm hairs just went up, and it was just the best.
Tom, talk a little bit about see, here's the thing. When I'm on screen with Tom or Renee, I'll have a question in my mind, and then I'll just be consumed in their awesomeness, and there's like, oh, there goes that question out the window. But talk a little bit about this show. How long have you had the idea? How long did you have the idea for a show like this?
It's so funny about that. Yes, maybe there's been some thoughts in the past, but it really wasn't until you guys started this and you said, hey, you want to do something? And I just sent you a note. I said, yeah, I got an idea. 30-minute talk show. One person, we dive in, and we get their thoughts, and we share their thoughts.
And the intro and the outro, I mean, the monologues that you do, whenever you're solo on screen, you carry it. Like a lot of people can't be alone on screen. You have your own energy that everybody feeds off of. We just feed out of the trough of TC, right?
I want a show of just 30 minutes of TC doing opening monologues.
Oh my goodness.
I want that show.
Well, listen, the goal is for us to really take this, as far as we can. So we'll just say this now to anyone watching and to anyone who shares this. Let's manifest this. We're looking for investors in TCB. We're looking for investors in Cosmos Creative Television. We're looking for sponsors. Anyone who wants to help our dreams come true, and you're a good person, we'll connect your name to our dreams, and let's do this because we have these lovely ideas. And I was going to say, when I hang up, my assistant's going to be putting red makeup on me, red lipstick on me, and I'll be sending a picture to you.
Yeah, so but we're not going to say why.
No, I know. I just want to congratulate everyone else who is doing wonderful stuff on the show. I'm being very, very, very mysterious right now.
I love how mysterious you're being. Yeah, that's right. It's a community, right? So we're all the fabric of this community.
Oh, and I watch all of those shows. That show that we're talking about.
Wink, wink.
It's so lovely, and I love seeing the accolades. And that's the thing too. We're all on this. I was working on the song the other day, and I love simplicity. I love writing words like "she gave me solace." That might be my favorite word in the English dictionary to find comfort and discomfort. But I love simplicity too. And then in one of the lines, I go, "We're all in this together in any kind of weather. If you ever need a listening ear." And it's just like, we are all in this together, and if you ever need a listening ear for both of you, I'm here for you, and everyone else who's watching and who's part of this.
Well, I want to, you talked about, I know you're getting ready for your outro here, Tom, but I would be remiss if I did not ask you to mention your song that is entitled "Burn It Down," which is, if people are not aware of your music career.
Yes, and
Yes.
it's
Talk
such a
about that.
which you know, the chorus goes, nothing can compare to the ones that you love, you know. And I remember when I was writing it, I think I was writing on an old Casio keyboard and was just fooling around with it, and I was like, this thing sounds like a telephone commercial, meaning reach out to the ones you love and call them.
Wow.
But then I also am a huge fan of juxtapose and writing, like I both know you guys love and create yourselves and appreciate. And so there was some dark times in my life as well. So I'm saying nothing can compare to the ones you love. But I also was saying, I'm losing my mind. I can burn it all down. And these days, burn it down means nothing but burn down the negativity, the
Yes.
toxicity, the cancer, and raise up the roof and light up the sky with nothing but beauty.
Tom, one more
Love
question
that.
before we wrap.
Love that.
I would love to know what you do to stay in a positive mental
Oh
space.
my
Mm,
goodness. Well, I fail a lot. And
We all
that
do.
takes a lot to
me
admit.
too.
Yeah, you know. But it would also be wrong to lie to people about that stuff, you know. So I just try to think about people who I know there are millions of people who have it worse than me, you know. And I also like to think that the best thing about a bad day is it's 24 hours. And how often do you have two bad days in a row, 48 hours? So you'll have one day it's 24 hours, a bad day, and then maybe three good days, and then another bad day. And basically try to narrow it down. Maybe only have one bad day a month, you know.
Mhm.
And it requires work, and it requires some meditation on my part. And I'm not really prayer. I like to say that I'm spiritual but not religious, you know. But
Mhm.
I have looked into other forms of you know, positive thoughts, and some people will call them prayer. Certainly meditation, certainly mantras. I have a few mantras that I use when I'm walking, and all of them make me realize that we are doing all right. And there are so many people that have it worse than us. And if
Mhm.
they see that I'm handling what I'm going through,
Right.
maybe that'll give them hope and inspire them. And also, if I could let them know, if you ever need a listening ear, I'm here for you.
Is that a little bit where I Choose Awesome came from?
Yes, I choose awesome. We were on the beach in San Diego, and I think we were talking about how some people have it better than us, but still complained. And I was like, my goodness. And I'm a big fan of actually certainly mantras, but I'm a big fan of cliches, like old school. There's a reason why people say Rome wasn't built in a day, whatever, these cliches, you know? And I was like, you know what's a great cliche is, why don't you just stop and smell the roses, you know?
Yes.
And Darren and I and Brian Kinchler were talking about it. We're having a beer on the beach, having tacos. It started raining, and I'm like, this is beautiful. Let's take our shoes off, roll up our dickies, put our feet in the ocean,
There you
and
go.
you know, and it was windy and sands in our eyes. And Darren's like, listen, I don't know about you, life would suck or be awesome. I don't know about you, but I choose awesome. And I was like,
Wow.
so, you know, there's a scripture in the Bible, and that's the thing. I actually love the Bible as a book of poetry, and I steal from it all the time. But there's a scripture in the Bible that says, "Out of the mouths of babes," which every time gets my hair
Mhm.
up. And it's like you got the smartest of men in the world trying to impress each other, and they're just jacking off with these big words, and they're horrible. And then you get this little kid that says something so simple, "Out of the mouths of babes," this $2 word, and he blows everyone away.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
was like, I choose awesome is out of the mouths of babes. It's like the most simplest thing ever, and everyone should try to live that way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love that so much. That I didn't know that. I never knew the details of that origin story. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah, yeah, and he's traveling the world, and you know, we have our goals, and it's taking longer to get it bigger. We've had a few successful shows. We've done a few shows. Um, in the end of the year in December, we did it a few years ago. We did a Joe Strummer benefit, and Joe Strummer was from the Clash, and certainly a positive guy. And we whatever the money we made, we sent to his wife through I Choose Awesome, and it was like um, basically she has something called the Joe Strummer Foundation. And so working with them, we were able to like send money to help kids again, like kids, you know, fix their guitars and buy crayons, paintbrushes,
Love
and
that.
buy drumsticks and you know, tuning mechanisms.
Wow. That is, I mean, and then I wanna do a shout out to Punk rock saves lives. But I
Yes,
wanted to
they're
ask
so
you,
Talk and
wonderful.
Tom.
Paul.
But I wanted to ask you, Tom, and maybe you can talk a little about that too. But just my last question would be, what does punk rock mean to you?
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a good question. Mike Watt has a sticker on his guitar from the band Minutemen and Firehose, and it's a picture of his best friend D Boone, who I actually share a birthday with, not the same year, but the same date, April 1st. And it just says punk rock is whatever you make it. So I don't think you need to have a blue mohawk. I think you need to be a freedom fighter. I think you need to think for the people who have no voice and scream for the people who have no voice. Mark Twain's got so many wonderful quotes, but one of his quotes is, when you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. And
Yes,
there's
sir.
so many heinous crimes going on in the world today, certainly in Ukraine, but also even around us in school. And the crimes could just be bullying. And to me, punk rock is standing up for any of that. And I'm not saying get yourself in a situation where you get beat up or killed, but charity work, and just doing what you can to help your neighbor. I've been saying a lot lately. You were texting earlier. Love is all around if you want it, and
Yes.
it really is. And we try to find the love. And what are we attracted to? Why did we become such great friends so quick? Because we love the same things, and we certainly hate the same things: homophobia, racism, fascism, bullies. I hate that. So why would I hang out with someone who I met who's like that? Well, there's a good chance I'm
Yeah.
only going to see them once, and I'm never going to want anything
Yeah.
to do with them.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Tom, you're a lifesaver, my friend.
Oh my
Total
goodness.
We love you.
lifesaver. Total
Man, we're
lifesaver.
breaking all the rules. We're 7 minutes over. Listen, this is what we're gonna do. So we
It's
know
worth
now
it.
we're gonna do a charity. I choose awesome with Cosmos. We'll talk
Yes.
about that. And let's just make it that every 6th or 7th episode, we need to take people behind the scenes, our discussions like this.
I love this
love
so much. I love it. I
And
love it.
John
I love
Phipps,
it.
we're going to be doing an interview with Cassie and James in
Yes.
August at the
REM Murmur.
BLT Fest. So much wonderful stuff. Life hands you lemons. Make a margarita. Make some
There
lemonade.
you go. There you go. I love that. All right. Are you doing an outro? You want us to get out of here?
Oh,
Get out of here.
listen, I had these things written down, but we are ending on such a high.
All right. Let's do it.
Just I'm going to say, because this is something we're flirting with down the road, is to end with positive outros.
Yes.
And fight for people you believe in, and stand up for them. We never know what people are going through, and love is all around. And hate requires work, and love is easy. And JP and Renee, I love when I scream Ray into my phone. It just says RAY, which is I hope I'm the only one who says that.
I love it. It's you. Yeah.
It's just been such a slice of heaven, and it's only the beginning.
Only the beginning. We love you,
Yes,
Tom
sir.
Cheshire. You're carrying us all on your back. We
Oh my goodness.
appreciate it.
Amen.
You are the most beloved creature on the planet. We would all take bullets for you every
Oh my
single
goodness.
day. We would all take bullets for you. So I'm just saying,
I want to thank my
we
friend
love
Eric
you.
Lee, who just bought me TCB.
Oh, hell yeah.
I need to put these on my cajon, on my drum set.
Yes,
Yeah,
please
thank
do.
you guys so much. We'll see you soon. And you're in my thoughts all the time.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
Love
Thank
you,
Thank you
Tom.
for watching.